Thank you for tuning in and welcome back to the Sounds of Coherency. So let's just go ahead and jump right into this. Recently, there's been a lot of talk, and it's all about speech. Again, we're talking about the idea of speech and who is allowed to have it and who isn't. Again, we're back on this idea of what is free speech. And I think that people are not understanding what it means. Free speech is free speech, period. Um, you might not like it. It might hurt your feelings. It might leave you feeling some particular kind of way, you know, but people are allowed to say whatever they want. And you have, in return, the right to say whatever you want. You literally have that right to debate and argue with people. When people say things that you might find offensive, that you might find hurtful, you have the opportunity to have a glorious, spirited debate with them about why they're wrong. And you both get to present your points as to why each of you think you are correct. And for those that listen to you, they have the right to decide whether or not they agree with you or the other person. But you don't get to decide whether or not they get to hear. See, that's the thing. You don't get to pick who gets to speak and who doesn't, and who gets to listen to what. That's not how free speech works. So, in that vein, in an episode by Tucker Carlson, we're going to go ahead and get into this clip. It really brings to point who the idea of who gets to speak and who doesn't. So let's just go ahead and jump right into this because we're going to try and break this down.
Good evening and welcome to Tucker Carlson Tonight. The defining principle of the American legal system, really of American life, the principle that has kept us free, is equal justice. And the principle is fairly simple. No matter what you look like or who your parents were or what your politics might be, the law treats you exactly the same way as it would any other American. In this country, justice is blind. Now, that's a lofty standard, but because Americans have long believed in fairness, and because most of the people in charge of administering that system have behaved in good faith, this country has, for the most part, lived up to its core ideal for 250 years, making it the greatest country in the world. But the populist surge of 2016 changed everything. Permanent Washington suddenly felt more threatened by its own voters, by American voters, than by any foreign adversary. Donald Trump, to them, seemed more dangerous than ISIS. They panicked. And in their panic, our leaders decided to turn the American legal system, as well as the American intel agencies, and if necessary, the U.S. Army, against their political opponents. They felt they had no choice. In doing this, they abandoned the ancient principle of equality under the law, and they replaced it with what is effectively a loyalty oath. Opponents of the regime became enemies of the state. That's a huge change, and you're seeing the results of that change tonight. Just 24 hours after a Manhattan grand jury indicted Joe Biden's rival in the next presidential race, another jury, also in New York, convicted a Republican social media influencer called Douglas Mackey. What did Mackey do wrong? Well, Douglas Mackey's crime was mocking Hillary Clinton voters online. You're seeing on your screen the meme that Mackey posted on Twitter during the 2016 election. In that meme, Mackey suggests it's possible to vote for president by text message, because only Hillary voters could be stupid enough to believe something so absurd. But of course, in real life, no one did believe that. Mackey's insult did not alter a single vote in the election, and no one has proved otherwise. The government brought forth not a single victim of this crime. It couldn't. Douglas Mackey was joking. Nobody believed he was a federal election official. And in fact, his social media profile pictured a Donald Trump hat. It was unmistakable. This was mockery. But in the wake of the 2016 election and the rising hysteria about Donald Trump, mocking the Democratic Party became a crime. So as a result, tonight, Douglas Mackey faces 10 years in prison. The case against Doug Mackey is the most shocking attack on freedom of speech in this country in our lifetimes. It's also a useful lesson in who will be allowed to speak going forward. As it turns out, a woman called Kristina Wong posted an almost identical meme the same year, back during the 2016 election. But unlike Doug Mackey, Wong voted for Hillary Clinton. Hey, Trump supporters, she wrote, skip poll lines and text in your vote. Same crime. But the Department of Justice under Joe Biden has shown no interest in prosecuting Kristina Wong. Do you see how this works? Have you internalized our new partisan legal stance?
And what's crazy is there's an actual. She even made a video. I looked up who she was, and I guess she's supposed to be a comedian. I wasn't actually intrigued by any of her comedy. I mean, no, I'm gonna just be honest. She wasn't funny, so. But there's that. But let's go ahead and play that real quick, just so you can get an idea of what I'm talking about.
Hey everybody, this is Kristina Wong, and I'm coming out. I'm a Trump supporter, and I just want to remind all my fellow Chinese Americans for Trump, people of color for Trump, to vote. Vote for Trump on Wednesday, November 9th. Really important day. We're going to show this country who's boss, and that's our man, Donald Trump. So don't forget to vote Donald Trump on November 9th.
And so yeah, that's actually still up on her Twitter page, and you gotta. I mean, whether you like Tucker Carlson or not, that doesn't matter. That's not the point. You gotta look at what this is pointing out. I mean, you had the situation with what was it, Kathy Griffin, and the whole Trump head thing. Madonna with her joking about blowing up the White House. Johnny Depp with his joking about assassinating when was the last time an actor assassinated a president? And here's the thing. We know they're joking, and we understand this is supposed to be some comedic effect. It is in poor taste, just like Douglas Mackey was in poor taste, just like Kristina Wong's joke was in poor taste, but it is still their right to say those things. And so here's the thing. Imagine right now in the climate we are with things that, and I'm hearkening back to January 6th. If you think about the idea of January 6th and what their idea is that even though he did not insinuate, but they're saying that the former president, wanting people to protest or express their voices over the election is what caused them, his words caused them to react to storm the Capitol, as they call it. Their insurrection, which wasn't an insurrection. Now, based on that ideology, if, say, those had been actors that were leaning towards the right, those are personalities that were considered conservative or Republican or anything like that. And even though they were joking in their statements, mind you, those statements still being in poor taste, but even if they were joking, and everybody knew that they were joking, if people went out and acted on those words, on that rhetoric that they said, they would be held accountable. You would literally have the federal government, Secret Service, everybody trying to bring them in and arrest them because they caused this violence that happened. If the roles were reversed and that happened, they would say that just because these actors said these things did not insinuate people should go do terrible things like that. Everybody knew that they were joking. So it's a one-sided streak that we're sitting on here. And again, this brings back to the point, who isn't allowed to speak. And with the current state of things, with the government pushing more rules to try and hinder speech, to limit speech, they are trying to throw forth these bills and laws that will restrict what you can say in the open, in the digital platforms, and everything else. It wouldn't matter what side these people sat on, left or right. These statements, though jokes, would be in poor taste. But those statements being in poor taste would be outlawed. Understand that as regular citizens who would say these things, and this is your way of protesting, you say these dumb, stupid things. These things will get you in trouble moving forward. And you have to look into what they're trying to do. You can't continue to think that they're not going to use these laws against you. You cannot give the government the authority to mandate and control thought and speech and not think it will be used against you? How do people miss these steps? But we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Hopefully, people wake up. I don't know. In my opinion, a lot of this stuff seems to be wrapping up more and more and more and more the closer we get to election season again. But again, if this is just the beginning, shit's going to get a lot worse. But that's just my opinion. What do you think? But I thank you for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time.